In the heart of the great African plains, where the golden grass stretched as far as the eye could see and the rivers carved curving paths through the land, a hunter named Aiden moved silently through the wilderness. The sun drooped low in the sky, casting long shadows as he tracked in deer its hoofprints fresh in the damp soil. Aiden was not like the other hunters of his village. While many sought to prove their strength by bringing back the biggest kill, Aiden believed in taking only what was needed. He had grown up listening to the elders' stories, tales of warriors who disrespected nature and suffered for their greed. He had no desire to share their fate. As he moved through the tall grass, his sharp eyes locked onto movement near the riverbank. Expecting to see his prey, he stepped forward carefully, but what he found made him stop in his tracks. Lying motionless in the dirt was a lion, massive, with a once glorious golden mane now dulled with dust. Its ribs pressed against its skin, and its breath came in slow, labored pulls. Aiden's fingers unconsciously tightened around his spike. Every hunter knew that even a dying lion could be dangerous, but as he studied the great beast, he saw something in its eyes that unsettled him. There was no rage, no threat, only silent pleading. He hesitated, his heart pounding. A lion this week should have been an easy kill, but something held him back. This was no ordinary beast. It was as if the earth itself whispered for him to show mercy. Aiden took a slow step forward, gripping his spear tightly. The lion let out a weak, deep roar, not of warning but of pain. It tried to lift its head but collapsed again, too weak to move. Only then did Aiden notice the cause of its suffering. A thick, sharp thorn was deeply embedded in its paw, the flesh around it swollen and darkened with infection. The wound pulsed angrily, the poison spreading through the lion's body. Aiden exhaled sharply. He had seen wounds like this before. Left untreated, the lion would not last the night. He knelt cautiously beside the beast, the weight of the moment pressing down on him. He had spent years learning to track, to hunt, to survive. But never had he been faced with a choice like this. If he left, the lion would die alone. If he helped, Aiden swallowed hard. He didn't know if it was madness or instinct guiding him, but something deep inside told him he could not walk away. Slowly, carefully, he reached for the thorn. Aiden took a slow, steady breath, his fingers hovering over the thick, pointed thorn buried deep in the lion's paw. The wound was swollen, the surrounding flesh dark and infected, a painful reminder of how long the beast had suffered. The lion's yellowish-brown eyes remained fixed on him, flickering between pain and trust. It did not move, nor did it growl again. Aiden knew the risk. One wrong move, and the lion's natures could take over, ending his life in a single swipe. But something about the moment felt sacred, as if the spirits of the land were watching, waiting to see what he would do. Calling his courage, he tightened his grip around the thorn. It was thick and twisted, as if it had been placed there with cruel intent rather than an accident of nature. His jaw tightened. Who would do such a thing? "This will hurt," Aiden murmured, more to himself than to the lion. With a swift, firm pull, he pulled the thorn free. The lion let out a deafening roar, its body shaking in pain. Aiden fallen back, gripping his spear, his instincts screaming for him to flee. The beast's muscles tensed, its claws dug into the dirt, but it did not attack. Instead, its breathing grew steadier, its massive frame drooping with relief. Blood seeped from the wound, but the poison had lost its anchor. Aiden's hands trembled as he reached for his water skin. He poured a small stream of cool water over the wound, washing away dirt and dried blood. The lion recoiled but did not pull away. As the last of the rudeness drained from the injury, Aiden took a strip of cloth from his belt, hesitating only for a moment before pressing it gently against the lion's paw. He had treated wounded animals before, but never something so powerful, so close. The lion let out a deep, echoing sound, not a roar but something softer, something Aiden could only describe as gratitude. He sat back on his heels, exhaling slowly, his heart still beating in his chest. He had done it. The lion was still alive, and he was still breathing. But just as he prepared to rise to his feet, a deep, ancient voice filled the air. "You have done what no hunter would dare, Aiden." Aiden froze. His blood turned to ice. His look snapped to the lion, whose golden eyes now burned with something beyond understanding. The great beast had spoken. Aiden's breath caught in his throat. His mind screamed that he must have imagined it, that the exhaustion and tension of the moment had tricked his ears. But the voice came again, deep and echoing, like the distant roll of thunder before a storm. "You are not like the others, Aiden." His fingers tightened around his spear. His pulse pounded in his ears. He had heard stories of spirits taking the form of animals, of cheats and gods who walked among men. But never had he imagined standing face to face with such a being. The lion, No Tao, lifted his massive head, strength slowly returning to his limbs. His golden eyes, once dulled by pain, now gleamed with an unnatural intelligence. You can speak," Aiden finally whispered, his voice hoarse. The lion exhaled deeply, as if weary from carrying a heavy burden. "I have always spoken, but few men have ears to hear." Aiden felt his legs grow weak. The weight of what was happening pressed down on him like the midday sun. He had expected to hunt, to provide for his village. Instead, he had pulled a cursed thorn from the paw of a lion that now spoke to him as if it had always known his name. His grip on his spear loosened. "Who are you?" Tao regarded him for a long moment before speaking. "I am the guardian of these lands, the voice of the wild. But I was deceived, left to die like a wounded beast, forgotten by the very ones I once protected." Aiden swallowed hard. He had heard of ancient protectors, whispered myths passed down by the village elders. But they were just that, stories. What happened to you?" he asked, unable to stop himself. The lion's look darkened. "There are men who fear balance. They crave control, not agreement. They sought to silence me, to rule these lands as if they were theirs alone. They struck me down with poison and steel, and when I could no longer fight, they cast me aside like a dying animal." Aiden tightened his fists. He had seen what greed did to men. He had seen hunters kill for sport, warriors destroy for power. "Who are these men?" he asked, his voice steady now. Tao's eyes burned like sparks. "You will know them soon enough, Aiden. For they will come for you as they came for me." A chill ran down Aiden's spine. The air around him felt different now, heavier with something unseen. He had stepped into something far greater than himself, and there was no turning back. Aiden sat completely still, his mind struggling to make sense of what had just happened. A lion had spoken to him, not just any lion, but a guardian, and it had called him by name. The evening breeze whispered through the tall grass, carrying the weight of something unseen. Tao, the massive lion, stretched his tired limbs, his strength slowly returning. Then, in a voice as deep as thunder, he spoke again. "Long ago, before men claimed these lands, I walked among them. Not as prey, not as a predator, but as a protector." Aiden barely dared to breathe. The world was once in balance. The rivers were full, the sheep roamed freely, and hunters took only what they needed. I watched over all man and beast alike, ensuring agreement. For the first time, Aiden noticed the sorrow in Tao's golden eyes. But men grew greedy. Some hunted not to survive, but to take more than their share. They skinned animals for wealth, burned forests for power, and turned against each other for control. Aiden's hands clenched into fists. He had seen this before. Men who took too much, warriors who sought power over others. "One man, a leader, feared me." Tao's voice darkened. He did not see a guardian. He saw an obstacle. He wanted to rule these lands, but as long as I stood, he could never claim them as his own. The lion dug his claws into the dirt, his powerful frame tense as if reliving the betrayal. So he gathered his strongest hunters, men without honor. They poisoned the rivers I drank from. They weakened me with sickness, and when I could hardly stand, they struck. Aiden swallowed hard, a knot forming in his throat. They did not dare kill me complete, fearing what the spirits might do. Instead, they left me to suffer, believing the land itself would finish me. Tao exhaled, moving the dust beneath him. But nature does not bend so easily to the will of men. Aiden finally found his voice. And the thorn. Tao's gaze darkened. It was their doing. A final insult. A way to make sure my suffering lasted. Aiden's stomach twisted. He had thought the thorn was just bad luck, an accident of the wild. But now he knew the truth. It was a weapon, a mark of cruelty. Rage burned in his chest. He looked at Tao, the mighty lion who had been betrayed and left for dead. This was no ordinary beast. This was a fallen king. Aiden felt the weight of Tao's story settle deep in his chest. The greed of men had nearly destroyed this guardian. And now, those same hunters were still out there, waiting to finish what they started. Tao turned his great head toward Aiden. His golden eyes filled with something powerful. Not just pain but purpose. The ones who deceived me are not done, Tao rumbled. They seek to claim what does not belong to them. If they succeed, the land will fall into ruin. The rivers will dry, the animals will vanish, and soon, even your people will suffer. Aiden's breath caught. He had spent his life as a hunter, providing for his village, never questioning the balance of things. But now he saw the truth. This wasn't just about a lion. It was about all life. I am still weak, Tao admitted. But with your help I can stand again. I can fight. Aiden hesitated. He was just a man. What could he do against hunters who feared nothing? But then he met Tao's look, and in that moment he knew. Some battles are not fought with strength alone. Some battles are fought with courage. And Aiden had already made his choice. I will help you. The path ahead was uncertain, but Aiden had made his choice. He would help Tao regain his strength and stand against the hunters who had once betrayed him. As they traveled together, Aiden saw the land through new eyes. The rivers, the trees, the wind. It was all connected, just as Tao had said. The guardian spoke of ancient wisdom, teaching Aiden things no hunter had ever known. He learned to move with the rhythm of nature, to listen to the whispers of the wind, to read the language of the earth beneath his feet. But danger waited in every shadow. The hunters had caught word of Tao's survival, and they were watching, waiting. One night, Aiden spotted fresh tracks near their resting place. Tracks that did not belong to an animal. They were being followed. Tao was still weak, his strength returning slowly. But Aiden knew they had no choice but to keep moving. Each step forward brought them closer to danger. Yet Aiden felt something awaken inside him. A fire that could not be extinguished. The hunters believed they had won. They were wrong. This was not just a journey. It was a fight for survival. The hunters had been waiting. Their trap was set. Aiden and Tao arrived at a clearing, the air thick with tension. Then the silence broke. Arrows sliced through the air, spears sparkled in the moonlight, and men emerged from the shadows, their eyes burning with greed and fear. You should have stayed out of this, hunter, their leader sneered. That beast should have died long ago. But Aiden did not waver. He had seen the truth. This was not just about Tao. This was about balance, about protecting what was right. Tao, now stronger than ever, let out a roar that shook the ground. A roar of defense. A roar of a king reclaiming his throne. The battle erupted. The hunters struck fast, but Aiden was faster. He moved like the wind, dodging, striking, outsmarting them at every turn. Tao, a force of nature, fought beside him. His claws and fangs a blur of power and fury. One by one the hunters fell. Their leader, once so sure of victory, fell back in fear. They had underestimated the lion. They had underestimated the hunter. And now they had lost. The land would be free once more. The hunter's reward. The battle was over. The hunters had been defeated. Their reign of greed shattered. The land was safe once more. Aiden stood beside Tao, breathing heavily, his body aching from the fight. But as he looked around, the whispering trees, the endless sky, the land he had sworn to protect, he felt something new: peace. Tao turned to him, his golden eyes filled with something ancient and powerful. You have done more than fight, Aiden. You have restored balance. The great lion stepped forward, lowering his head. For your courage, for your heart, I grant you a gift. Aiden felt a warmth rush through him. The wind shifted, carrying the voices of the land itself. He was no longer just a hunter. He was something more. The spirits of the wild had accepted him, and from that moment on, he would never walk alone. When Aiden returned to his village, he was not the same man who had left. His story spread far and wide, a legend whispered by firelight. He was no longer just Aiden the hunter. He was Aiden the guardian, and his name would never be forgotten.